James Somerton issued this apology, I'm sorry, that was uploaded to his channel. However, it was received so poorly that within a few hours he deleted it off of his channel and made this community post. Earlier tonight, I uploaded a video apologizing for what I've done, but it's become clear after hearing from several people that I'm not in a healthy frame of mind to be posting anything online. I only returned from the hospital yesterday, so I should have never filmed it. I have deleted the video, but I'm pretty sure it has been downloaded and will be shared by others online. Well, yes, this is the internet. I promise to apologize properly in detail when I'm more mentally stable. Until then, please know I am sorry. We'll discuss this having just returned from the hospital thing, but we are going to go over basically this entire video. I have my notes right here with timestamps of all the significant things that are said in the video. It's 35 minutes long, and most of it is repeats or stuff like that. So I'm just going to basically trim all the fat for you as we go through this together, jump around the video. And of course, I watch everything on 2x speed, but I'll do normal just for you all. And so let's just jump right into it. The first 33 seconds is this, and it really sets the tone for what kind of an apology video this is.
Hi everyone. I'm sorry for taking so long to make this video or to say anything. I'm in the hospital. I've been in the hospital for a little over a week. I tried to do something really stupid.
And I kind of think you know where that's going. He goes on about this for a bit, basically attempting to garner sympathy by essentially weaponizing his mental health until he, and he does this for a bit, until he apologizes right around 2:15. He says this.
I want to say that I'm really, really sorry. Really, really sorry.
Specifically, he said he's sorry for the stuff that's in the videos, for not crediting people, so on and so forth, all the things that were listed in the H-Bomber Guy video. But then, after he goes through that for a bit, he says this at 3:16.
Is that stuff just got put in.
Sorry, tiny bit early.
There were a lot of times that stuff just got put in and there was no attempt at crediting anybody.
And this I found disingenuous. He says that there were times that stuff just got put in, but stuff didn't just get put in. He put it in there. Specifically, he plagiarized it, then put it in there. This was not an unavoidable instance in which some stuff somehow ended up in his scripts. It was a copy and paste job. It was intentional, and at least in some cases, it was malicious. So he goes on and apologizes about this for a little bit, but then he says this very interesting thing here around 3:44.
I'm not sorry that I got caught. I'm sorry for ever doing it. I honestly...
This is an apology as all this time, where the person who is sorry for being caught insists that they are not in fact sorry for being caught, but they're sorry they actually did the thing. However, considering that he had been doing this for years, it's safe to assume that he would have continued doing it for years had he not been called out in the way that he was. And I realize I'm giving a lot more opinion in this video than I normally do. Normally I just try to give you chronologically what happened and let you arrive at your own conclusions, but I think in this specific instance, I'm feeling a bit more opinionated. Now, he spends these next few minutes talking about how he didn't realize he was hurting people, which may or may not be true, but it's also not an excuse for the fact that he did hurt people. And then he goes on and says his best friend Nick, who was his writer, has completely stopped talking to him and hasn't talked to him since the video dropped. Then he comes back around to apologizing for not crediting people properly and for the misinformation that was in his videos. And if you're interested in more about the misinformation that was in his videos, then you can check out this video. I fact-checked the worst video essayist on YouTube by Todd in the Shadows, who does an outstanding deep dive into the kinds of things James Somerton has said in his videos, which have turned out to be entirely untrue. But while discussing this misinformation, James Somerton says this very interesting thing here at 6:46.
I honestly say that I never intended for any of that stuff to be in the videos. In most cases, I didn't write it, but I should have, it was my face on the channel. It was my name on the channel. I should have been, more diligent.
He's saying that he's sorry that this misinformation ended up on his channel at all, but that he, quote, didn't write it. And that sounds a lot like he's blaming Nick or throwing Nick under the bus and saying that, oh, these things that were wrong, oh, they were on my channel, but I wasn't the one that actually wrote them. Which, like, maybe that's true, but it's also James's job to vet things. At my job, I manage someone, and anything that he does, I am responsible for because that's my job. You know, I run the things that I do, and anyone who works under me, their work is my responsibility to vet and check that it's done properly. If it's not, that's on me. That's not on them. Now, he spends the next few minutes of this saying that how he wants to help the authors that he's wronged, and you and I know that what would really help the authors that whose stories he stole would be giving them money, since he, of course, profited off of their work without them getting any of it or seeing any of it. But instead of saying that he's planning to give them money, he says this at 8:21.
I've seen a lot of people online saying how much money I apparently make, and they're way overestimating.
So he spends the next few minutes saying that he doesn't have any money. It's expensive to live in Toronto. He wasn't really making that much off of the videos at all. He didn't really save anything, so on and so forth. Basically, he's trying to make a lot of excuses as to why he can't pay the authors for their work. The solution he offers is unlisting all of the videos and then sending all the money from the videos to the authors that he stole from. And then after he makes that suggestion, and that takes him quite some time to arrive at, he makes this very interesting statement, an interesting turn in the video at 12:31.
When it was something like the recent history of Hollywood videos, right there in the opening credits, I put Vito Russo's name, that it was adapted from his book.
And not only, he doesn't stop there, he goes on to mention 3 or 4 other instances where he says that he supposedly gave credit in the beginning that it was adapted from their book. So we've gone basically from him saying how sorry he was that he did it, and for the things he did, and for the plagiarizing. He's sorry about the misinformation. He doesn't have any money to actually pay the authors whose work he stole. And now he's jumped into trying to justify what he did by saying that he put it in the opening credits. But that's not how citation works. And honestly, this is kind of a terrible look for him. I can't fathom what was going through his head that he thought halfway through a 35-minute apology after the entire internet is upset at him for plagiarizing, he thought it would be a good idea to try and put forth a few instances in which he didn't plagiarize. It's just so poorly thought through on his part. In fact, it's so poorly thought through that he would try to justify this. I want to compare him to this other YouTuber named Ali Abdaal, who makes YouTube videos about books, but this is how the books in the YouTube videos are presented. And I want you to think about the difference between Ali Abdaal's work and James Somerton's.
Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. So this is one of my favorite books. It's called Someday is Today, and it's filled with incredibly actionable, helpful, practical advice for achieving more of the things we want in life. It's written by an incredible guy called Matthew Dix, who has survived 3 near-death experiences, including a ridiculously bad car crash and also being held at gunpoint at the age of 22. And these experiences forced him to reconsider what he was doing with his life and what he achieved. And he went from being someone who was completely broke, living in his car and working at McDonald's, to becoming a best-selling author, world champion storyteller, and award-winning journalist.
You get the idea. Ali Abdaal is making a video about a book, just like James Somerton was in the many instances in which he plagiarized, but everything about the video is very obviously pointing towards the book. The opening scene is the book, where you can see the cover, you can see the author, and he talks about the book, he's talking more about the author, and then it pops over here, and Ali Abdaal has actually interviewed the author, and you can watch the entire interview with the author. So there's very clearly permission being granted here. This is all very above board, very legal. It's all done with permission. It is nothing like what James Somerton did, in which he essentially gave no credit or gave no real indication that the entirety of the video was ripped from a book. Contrast this with Ali Abdaal, who has everything in here and in his discussions with the author. So just a really bad excuse by James Somerton to try and justify that. Now moving on, the next significant thing that happens is just in between these time jumps that I'm doing is basically him just continuing to reiterate whatever the point we just had was. A lot of pauses, a lot of deep breaths, a little bit of crying, so on and so forth. Nothing concrete or worth really watching. Next interesting is 1454, according to my notes.
Like that. have it all in there. I would like to become a really, really good example of giving proper credit.
So there he's saying that he wants to continue to make YouTube videos, but he wants to do it properly and giving proper credit and making it very, very clear whose works he's deriving his stuff from, which is kind of wild because of course you want to do that now. Obviously you want that now. Your entire career has ended because you failed to do that for the entire however long you've been uploading videos. He spends the next few minutes of this apologizing for the misogynistic comments he made, specifically against white women, and for the anti-ace comments that he made in his videos. But then he goes on this little interesting tangent, and as you listen to it, see if you can find what's wrong with it. Let's see, 1746. This is him talking about how sorry he is
Nick
for
being
the
ace. I know it's kind of like, you know, no two gay people are exactly the same and no two ace people are exactly the same, but I kind of, when it came to that, I would just kind of run with Nick's judgment and his observations and stuff like that. And I'm not trying to throw Nick under the bus, which a bunch of people were saying that I was setting him up as doing, which is...
But he kind of just did that, right? Like he said, when it comes to Nick is ace, and so when it came to those things, he just trusted Nick's judgment on whatever Nick put in the script, which is kind of the definition of throwing Nick under the bus, right? Because he's saying that anything objectionable as far as the ace representation in his videos was Nick's writing. So that is actually throwing Nick under the bus. There's that continuous implication that Nick did it. And he's actually done that several times throughout this video where he said that he didn't write something or something offensive that, or some misinformation or something offensive that he said in the video or that ended up in the video. He claims, at least on 3 separate occasions up to this point, that he didn't write it. Considering that he and Nick are the only 2 people that work on the channel, the obvious implication there is that Nick did it. So not only is he actually throwing Nick under the bus in this instance, he's done it at least 2, I believe 3 times up to this point. Now the next few minutes are pretty long and drawn out and convoluted, but essentially what he's doing is he's apologizing for the Telos scam, insisting that it wasn't a scam, which for those of you that don't remember, that was the thing that he was collecting money for, saying that he was going to start a movie studio telling gay stories, primarily acted by queer actors, which is a good idea, but he ended up taking a lot of money, not producing a single show or any of the movies or anything like that. Basically, he had spent years collecting people's money, promising that he was going to be putting out all of these queer movies or queer celebratory cinema, and he hadn't been doing any of that. He had just been taking the money. He says he's going to send out a message to his supporters proving that it was not a scam. And when that happens, I'll take a look. I don't know what he can really do to persuade anybody that it wasn't, because he's spent so long being silent about it and just taking people's money. But the next interesting thing that happens, this goes on for a while, by the way, is at 22:53.
But yeah, anyway, I do want to keep making videos, and I know a lot of you won't watch them, and that's fine.
He says he wants to keep making videos. And this caught me off guard legitimately as I was watching this, because I kind of assumed this would be his last attempt to rescue his legacy, so that if people saw him in the street, they wouldn't glare at him or say mean things, that kind of a thing. But he says he wants to continue making videos, suggesting that he plans to somehow try and make a comeback from this. I had kind of assumed he would quietly try to disappear into the background and hope that too many people didn't remember him or didn't really care, so that he could do something else like being a writer or a video editor for another YouTuber. It never occurred to me that he would try and stay. And that's essentially the end of the apology video. Obviously, as you can see, there's about 12 more minutes, but what he covers in this 12 minutes is the next 6 minutes are him saying that he's going to do a comeback and do videos in analyzing queer cinema, and that he will be absolutely sure to cite all of his sources. And he's saying things like they'll be pinned in a comment and in the video description, in the video itself, and he will welcome the highest form of scrutiny from people making sure that he's not plagiarizing stuff. He also then says that he wants to go put the videos back up that he had previously plagiarized from, but instead of taking the money for himself, he would give the money to the authors that he stole from. He also then says that he plans to reactivate his Patreon starting today, which I think actually would have been yesterday when this video was posted, so that the patrons can cancel their subscriptions without being charged again on January 1st. And finally, he promises that he's going to come back, but he's going to do it right this time, and he's going to do better moving forward. And frankly, I can't imagine a world in which this goes well for him. I personally don't particularly have thoughts one way or the other. Like, I recognize what he did was wrong, and the fact that he's losing his career over it kind of seems fitting, but I was not personally wronged or impacted by this, so I feel like it's difficult for me to have an opinion on this that should matter really to anyone. If the authors and the journalists and the queer community, I feel like all are well within their rights to accept or not accept this apology, but I just don't think it's a good look for him. And frankly, I do genuinely think his career is over. I can't fathom a world in which he's able to come back from this. But whatever happens next, I definitely will make a video about it so you can figure out what's going on with James Somerton. Thanks for watching.